Hello students, I am Arun Devka, Assistant Professor, AISSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology. Let us start with a new chapter on energy flow in ecosystem, food chain, food webs and ecological succession. Structure and functions of an ecosystem. Structural aspects. Components that make up the structural aspect of an ecosystem include: first one, inorganic aspect, that is CnCO2 H2O. Second one, organic component, that are protein, carbohydrates, lipid, link abiotic to biotic aspects. Third one, climatical regimes, that are temperature, moisture, light and topography. Fourth one, producer, that are plants. Fifth one, micro consumer, that are photographs, large animals. Micro consumer, that are fungi, etc. Functional aspects. First one, energy cycle. Second one, food chain. Third one, diversity, interlinking between organism. Fourth one, nutrient cycle, biochemical cycle. And fifth one, evaluation. Producer, consumer and decomposer. Every living organism is in some way dependent on the other organism. Plants are food for herbivorous animals, which are in the turn food for carnivorous animals. Thus, there are different topic levels in the ecosystem. Some organisms, such as fungi, live on only dead material and inorganic matter. Plants are the producer. In the producer, the ecosystem, as they manufacture their food by using energy from the sun. In the forest, these form communities of plant life. In the sea, these include tiny angel formed to a large seaweed. The herbivorous animals are primary consumer as they live on the producer. In a forest, these are the insects, birds and mammals. The herbivorous animals include, for example, here deer and elephants that live on plant life. They are gates on grass or feed on the foie from trees. In grassland, they are herbivorous such as the black buck that feed on grass. In the summered areas, there are species such as chinkara and Indian gazelle. In the sea, there are small fish that lives on other plants. At a higher trophic level, there are carnivorous animals or animal secondary consumer, which lives on herbivorous animals in our forest. The carnivorous animals are tiger, leopard, jackal, fox and small wild cats. In the sea, carnivorous fish lives on their fish and marine animals. Animals that lives in the sea range in the size of microscopic form to a giant mammals such as the whale. Decomposer are a group of organisms consisting of small animal like worms, insects, bacteria and fungi, which breaks down dead organic material into a smaller particles and finally into a smaller simpler substance that are used by plants as a nutrition. Decomposition thus is a vital functions in a nature, as without this all the nutrition would be tied up in the dead matter and no new life could be produced. Most ecosystems are highly complex and consist of an extreme large number of individual of a wide variety of species. In the species rich tropical ecosystem, such as in our country, only a few species are very common, while most species have relatively few individual. Some species of plants and animals are extremely rare and may occur only at a few locations. These are the said to be endemic to these areas. When humans activities alter the balance in this ecosystem, when this happens to an endemic species that is not widely distributed, it becomes instinct for all times. Now let us discuss energy flow in the ecosystem. Every ecosystem has numerous interconnected mechanisms that affects human life. These are the water cycles, the carbon cycles, and the oxygen cycles, the nitrogen cycle and the energy cycle, while every ecosystem is controlled by these cycles. In each ecosystem, its abiotic and biotic feature are distinct from each other. All the functions of the ecosystem are in the some way related to the growth and regeneration of its plants and animals species. This link process can be depicted as the various cycles. This process depend on energy from sunlight. During the photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is taken up by the plants and oxygen is released. Animals depend on the oxygen for their respiration. The water cycle depends on the rainfall, which is necessary for the plants and the animals to live. The energy cycle recycles nutrients into the soil on which plants' life grows. Our own lives are closely linked to the proper functioning of this cyclic of life. If human activities go on alternating them, humanity cannot be survive on earth. Next point, the water cycle. Water, air and food are the most important natural resources to a people. Humans cannot live without water. Only few moments, less than a week without water and about a month without food. Water also is essential for our oxygen and food supply. Plants break down water and use it to create oxygen during the process of photosynthesis. The water, that is water cycle, shows the movement of the water through different reserves, which include ocean, atmosphere, glacier, groundwater, lakes, rivers and biosphere. Solar energy and gravity drive the motion of water in the water cycle. Simply put, the water cyclic involves water moving from the ocean, rivers and lakes to the atmosphere by evaporation, forming clouds. From clouds, it falls in a perception on both water and land. The water on land can either return to the ocean by surface runoff. Rivers, glaciers and subsurface groundwater flow or return to the atmosphere by the evaporation or transportation of water. An important part of the water cycle, how water varies in a environment. Ecological succession. Ecological succession is a process through which ecosystems tend to change over a period of time. Succession can be related to seasonal environmental changes, which create changes in the community of plants and animals living in the ecosystem. Other successional events may like much longer period of time, extending to several decades. If a forest is cleared, it is initially colonized by certain group of species of plant and animals, which gradually change through an orderly process of community development. One can predict that an opened up area will gradually be converted into a grassland, a shrubland and final a woodland and a forest if permitted to do so without human interference. There is a tendency for a succession to produce a more or less stable state at the end of the successional stage. Now let us summarize today's session. In today's session, we had discussed structure and functions of an ecosystem, right? Structural aspects. The structural aspects are like inorganic aspects, organic compounds, climatical regimes, producer, macro consumer, micro consumer. Functional aspects. In a functional aspect, we had discussed energy cycle, food chain, diversity, interlinking between organism, nutrition, cyclic and biogeochemical cycle, evaluation. Producer, consumer and decomposer. Every living organism is in some way depending on their other organism. Energy flow in the ecosystem. Every ecosystem has numerous interconnected mechanisms that affects on human life. These are the water cycle and carbon cycles and oxygen cycles. Water cycle. Water, air and food are the most important natural resources to the people as well as for the species and humans also. The carbon cycle. Carbon cycle, the physical cycle of carbon through the Earth's biosphere, geosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere that includes such processes as photosynthesis, decomposition, respiration and carbonification. Oxygen. The oxygen cycle. The oxygen cycle is the cycle that helps move oxygen through the three main regions of the earth that are atmosphere, biosphere and the lithosphere. The nitrogen cycle. Carnivore animals feed on herbivorous animals that lives on plants. When animals defect, the waste material is broken down by worms and insects, mostly beetles and ants, and this might be converted into the composting. The energy cycle. The energy cycle is based on the flow of the energy throughout the ecosystem. Energy from a sunlight is converted by the plants themselves into the growing new plants material, which include leaves, flowers, fruits, branches, trunks and roots of the plant. Ecological succession. Ecological succession is a process through which ecosystem tend to change over a period of time. Succession can be related to a seasonal environmental changes which creates changes in the community of plant and animal living in the ecosystem. Thank you.